It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers.
I feel like we can run the table. We're going to do it.
Your daily Green Bay Packers podcast.
Rodgers gets out.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Floats it.
Your team
Cobb.
every day.
Touchdown.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for SB Nation and Packer Report. I cover the NFL around the internet, and you can follow me on Twitter at Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Today's episode is brought to you by 1010. 1010 is an exclusive collection of one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today. This exciting limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings launches on January 18th, and you can preview it exclusively at BlueNile.com. Our Wednesday Zhao You Doin
How you doing?
is coming up a little bit later. Lily Zhao from Fox 6, fresh off the Giannis Supermax extension coverage, is joining us on the show today to talk a little Packers football. And we may even sneak in a Giannis question or two as we look forward to this Carolina Panthers game. And we had some news, and I want to break it down a little bit in further depth tomorrow as we preview the game more on Thursday with our crossover Thursday. But Christian McCaffrey was ruled out, and so he will not play on Saturday, because it's a Saturday game. I said Sunday earlier. It's a Saturday game. Christian McCaffrey will not play, so that is a pretty big drop-off to Mike Davis, even though Davis has been a quality player this year. Christian McCaffrey, one of the three best running backs in football, and one of the most dynamic, explosive players that we have in this league. I want to start today with something else, though. A few shows ago, we talked about the case for Aaron Rodgers as the MVP. The case for Aaron Rodgers as MVP is very similar to the case that you can make for Matt LaFleur as coach of the year. And there will be some people who say, well, if Aaron Rodgers is the MVP, Matt LaFleur can't be coach of the year because Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. And if Rodgers is the MVP, it has to be because he was most valuable. And if LaFleur is coach of the year, then that means Rodgers is somehow not as valuable. First of all, that's garbage. This has happened before where teams have had the MVP and the coach of the year. And it's just a silly argument. And it is one of the reasons why, Mike McCarthy did not get the recognition early in his tenure that he deserved because he had Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's the reason that Coach LaFleur was not in greater consideration last year for the award because he had Aaron Rodgers, despite the fact that going into the end of the McCarthy era, there was all of this discussion about the eroding skill set of Aaron Rodgers. The same things that we can say about Aaron Rodgers as the MVP. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have the same kind of talent. This is something that was part of the offseason narrative, and we know that narratives drive these awards. In the offseason, everyone decided the Packers failed to add talent. Their Vegas win total fell after the draft, as if they got worse, or as if, I suppose, the charitable reading of that is Vegas was building in the idea that the Packers would add a receiver or an impact offensive player, and when they didn't, you say, okay, well, sorry, you're not going to be as good. The Vikings had better odds to win the division. They had better odds to win the Super Bowl. Green Bay was like 5th or 6th in the NFC. They were going to be a wild card team. Remember all of the talk, fraudulent 13-3 team, the most fraudulent 13-3 team ever, the worst 13-3 team ever. And going into the year, they were going to regress. Bill Barnwell at ESPN had them as the number one regression team because of their close game record, 8-1 in close game, one-score games last year. So if this award is supposed to be about exceeding expectations, then we have to be clear about what the expectations were. Because the expectations, broadly speaking, national narrative coming into the year was that the Packers were going to regress. They were going to be a 9-7 team, an 8-8 team, 10-6 if they were lucky. In fact, their win total was 8, and I saw it some places at 7.5. So they were projected as an 8-8, 9-7 team. They look to be a 13-3 team. So we have to reset, right? Because now that we've seen it, you go, oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers is great. He's the MVP. And so Coach LaFleur, well, he's great because Aaron Rodgers is great, except the core reason that Aaron Rodgers has been so great this year is because of how the offense has changed, how it's empowered its quarterback, how it has moved Davante Adams around. Davante Adams has been the best receiver in the league from the slot this season, leads the league in touchdowns from the slot this season, and is playing there much more than he was last year. This offense looks more like what Matt LaFleur wants it to be. He had to get buy-in from his quarterback in the offseason for that to happen, had to get him to buy into the pre-snap motion, the heavy play action, and all of the things central to what Matt LaFleur wants to be. And guess what? He got it. And that is why this team, with no additional talent, think about how you improve as a team without adding players. It has to be the players on your team get better, play better, are better. Well, how does that happen? They get better, and that's a credit to them, but putting them in the right positions to succeed and helping them get better, that is coaching. That is coaching. And that's the position the Packers are in. Back to the question about narrative. We act now as if, oh, the Packers are, they're a 12-win, 13-win team. And they were 13-3 last year in the NFC Championship game. And that's why we were so annoyed, blah, 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 about what happened in the offseason. Except most people, even a lot of Packer fans, thought this team was due for a major regression. I thought they were probably an 11-win team, not a 13-win team. 10 if they didn't get the right injuries, could be a 12-win team with the right injury luck. And they've had injuries, and they've been able to overcome it. But let's just use the Vegas win totals as an example. The Packers were 8.5, even 8. I mentioned 7.5 some places. If they go 13-3, how different is that than, let's say, the Washington football team? I think Ron Rivera is probably not getting the respect that he deserves in this Coach of the Year discussion. But they were a 4.5 win Vegas over-under before the season. If they go 9-7 and Green Bay was an 8.5 win total and they go 13-3, it's basically the same. It's basically the same. And so why is one performance relative to expectations so different? And Kevin Stefanski, who is the guy that I hear a lot being talked about, the Browns had a higher Vegas win total before the year in a lot of places. A higher win total. So why are we acting like this was supposed to be a 4-12 team? Why are we supposed to be acting like a year ago with Freddie guest half bathrooms that everyone wasn't picking the Browns to go 11-5, 12-4 and be a Super Bowl team? The Packers have outperformed expectations. But because of Aaron Rodgers' MVP, and I think that MVP candidacy is clouding some of this. And even last year when he wasn't an MVP, LaFleur didn't get the respect he deserved for resetting the culture, for taking a 6-9-1 team, a team that was in disarray, that had grown toxic culturally, fundamentally. This team was looking for leadership and guidance, and it got it from Matt LaFleur. He reset it, and to a man, the players in the locker room talk about his impact in empowering them, in making them better. And yet, they go 13-3. They improved 7 wins over the year before. And because Aaron Rodgers is there, LaFleur can't get any credit. Because everyone, when the Packers hired Matt LaFleur, thought, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? This guy, he wasn't even good in Tennessee. It's just because he once shook Sean McVay's hand that he's getting this job. And he has the bad first press conference. He seems shaky. He seems clammy hand. It all is about confirming your priors. Well, it turns out Aaron Rodgers is just great. Not Matt LaFleur. Couldn't be Matt LaFleur. It couldn't be one of the best play designers and play callers in football, that he's ascended to that level in 2 years. No, it couldn't be that. It has to be all Aaron Rodgers, even though when Patrick Mahomes throws 50 touchdowns and becomes this young phenom, everyone understands that one of the core reasons is that Andy Reid is the best offensive mind of his generation, or one of them. Everyone agrees that that's what happened. But we love Andy Reid. Andy Reid has been around a long time, and he has gone through trials and tribulations. He has gone through the proverbial gauntlet in the eyes of NFL fans, had to leave Philly, goes to Kansas City, struggles with some early losing there. They add Alex Smith, and all of a sudden, we remember, oh yeah, Andy Reid, really good at this. Matt LaFleur comes in. Now he is this up-and-comer, handsome guy, comes in. He's gonna be the guy to shepherd Aaron Rodgers into the twilight years of his prime and the end of his career? Come on. And yet here we are. And he's the winningest coach in NFL history to this point in his career. We have not seen a coach start his career like this in Green Bay. We haven't seen it. So we have to acknowledge that for all of the reasons that Aaron Rodgers, the improvement over last season, one of the core reasons is because of Matt LaFleur. And they didn't improve the roster, and yet they're better. They've had a difficult schedule, and yet they are now the number 1 offense in the league. They've had a top 10 defensive schedule. They're the number 1 offense by DVOA, ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs. Matt LaFleur looks like one of the best coaches in football. And if we are honest about what the expectations were coming into the season, what the narratives were, then we have to acknowledge that his case from a narrative standpoint and from a real on-the-field productivity standpoint, he deserves to be in this conversation. Maybe he doesn't deserve to win it, but he deserves to be in this conversation for Coach of the Year. Before we get to Lily, let's talk about our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. It's the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, and now it's even more delicious with 6 new flavors: caramel brownie, cookies and cream, carrot cake. That's to go with flavors like salted caramel, mint brownie, peanut butter brownie, German chocolate, and so many more. They're all 100% covered in chocolate, soft and easy to chew, and they're low calorie, low sugar, high protein, and high fiber. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKEDON to get 20% off your next order. That's promo code LOCKEDON to get 20% off at BuiltBar.com.
Hey, what's happening? It's your boy Q, host of the Locked On Raiders podcast, and I hope you guys feasted on the MyBookie Turkey Day free play that allowed users to grab themselves a risk-free bet up to $250. It was basically a free shot at trying to double your money. If you didn't get in on that, what are you doing? Nah, but seriously, now is the time to get some skin in the game with MyBookie, where odds boost, lightning deals, and free bets await all season long. And with the NFL playoffs right around the corner, we know who these teams are. We know what they're capable of, and it's not difficult to find some value in the lines. Whether you're a first-time customer or have been playing with MyBookie for years, there is no shortage of value to be found in the thousands of game lines, unique prop bets, and contests that they offer every week. Sign up or get reloaded today. Find an edge, make your bet, and get paid. They also boast a fully fledged casino platform giving you access to all the classic table, slot, and card games you'd expect to find at your local spot. And the best part is, at MyBookie, the doors never close, so you can continue to build your bankroll even after the stadium lights have gone out. Make the right play and sign up today at MyBookie. And when you do, use promo code LOCKEDON to get your deposit matched halfway, all the way up to $1,000. The terms are simple. You put in $200, they'll match you with another $100 in your account. If you were already planning to bet this season, this is free betting money. It's winning season at MyBookie, so come join in on the fun and win some cash while you're at it.
Coming up later in the week on Locked On Packers, we have our crossover Thursday and, of course, our live show on Friday to get you set for everything Packers-Panthers Saturday night in prime time. Our live show on Periscope, 5:30 Central. Don't miss it. All right, week 14 in the books. We are on to week 15, the Carolina Panthers and the Green Bay Packers in prime time, which means it is time, because it's Wednesday, to ask the most important question of the week. Lily Zhao from Fox 6 in Milwaukee. Zhao You Doin?
Zhao You Doin, Peter? I'm doing great. And I just will say this, though. You know, people have been tweeting Zhao You Doin at me, so I'm really happy that it's our phrase is catching on. The phrase you thought is catching on. But I'm doing great.
I love it. I love it. That's so great. Feel free to do that to me as well, and tag Lily in it whenever you want. I'm glad that people are enjoying it. I'm enjoying it too. So let's keep it going, and we get to keep it going this week with you coming off one of the more exciting days that you've had since you've been in Milwaukee, because you made your move, mid-COVID. The Bucs signed Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you were out chasing that story. Aaron Rodgers gets asked about it on the Pat McAfee show because he's a part owner, has not been asked to front any money yet. But it is pretty unique that if you're a Wisconsin sports fan, you get to cheer for those two guys, and we could have MVPs in the same year.
Yeah, and that's the fun part. And then you add in Christian Yelich, who also congratulated Giannis, I think, via his Instagram. So you have 3 MVPs in the state, and 2 of them, have a good shot of potentially winning it again. Not saying Christian obviously hopefully can too. But it's just a fun time. And it was just, this is what makes it so exciting, is that because, the Bucs are a quote-unquote small market team, there was a big hoopla. There wasn't any sort of inside scoop. Giannis broke his own contract extension. Mm-hmm. Someone who tweeted that, hey, I signed the Supermax, I'm staying in Milwaukee in the next 5 years. So that was fun to see. I wish we would have, heard him talk, but I'm sure we will very shortly. But yeah, it just was a fun day just to be chasing that story and knowing that the Greek Freak's in town for the next half a decade.
Do you think there is any pull? Because when LeBron was a free agent, that LeBron, Wade, and Bosh free agency, there was talk about, Jay-Z and the Nets, that's going to influence him. Do you think the fact that Aaron Rodgers is now a part of the Bucs organization has any effect, not on Giannis necessarily, but just on the cachet that they have now? I mean, they got the new arena, Aaron Rodgers is in the mix. They're not Cleveland or Detroit in the same kind of way, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's having a guy like Giannis, it's really made this town fun. Because it's we don't know the Packers are so important. That's why we do this podcast. But it's nice knowing that, 2 hours south, alongside the Brewers, there's the Bucs, and they're really rejuvenating the NBA basketball in this town. And that's really fun to see with the Deer District and Fiserv and all that stuff. But yeah, having a guy like Giannis, like Aaron Rodgers, like Christian Yelich, it does bring some cachet to the state of Wisconsin and the sports teams that we have here.
2 hours south, huh? You think it's 2 hours? Interesting.
An hour 40?
Yeah.
For now.
Hour and a half if you're really flying.
No, Peter.
Definitely not after a Packer game. After a Packer game, I mean when I drove from Green Bay to Seattle Green Bay to Milwaukee. Well, Green Bay to Seattle would be a trek.
Oh geez.
Green Bay to Milwaukee after the Seattle game last year in like 15 inches of snow. I think it took me like 3.5 hours just because it was absolutely brutal. I was on side roads. I was in West Bend on, county road that hadn't been plowed. And then I got home and realized I was almost out of gas and just like had never realized because I was just white knuckling it the whole way.
Oh my gosh. Meanwhile, up in Green Bay, I was like, oh, is this 10-minute drive going to get any longer?
That is the nice thing about Green Bay is everything is within 15 minutes. And the Packers are going to be in Green Bay on Saturday. It will not be 15 inches of snow, hopefully, on the ground. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, but it is going to be a cold game. Is this going to be important, do you think, for the Packers to lay the smackdown a little bit against a team that is, let's be honest, not as good as them and a team that they should beat? They are 10-point favorites by betonline.ag. And this is something that I think has been a point of discussion. We talked about it with Olivia Reiner yesterday. If you want Lambeau Field to be a home field advantage, then you sort of have to help make it that by beating up these teams at Lambeau Field.
100%. And if you look at their remaining schedule, it's if they beat Carolina, if they beat the Bears, they can, we don't want them to lose a game, but if they do lose to the Titans per se, they still have a great shot of keeping that number 1 seed because Kansas City plays New Orleans this week. And, I don't know the status of Drew Brees, but you have to like the Chiefs in that game. So if all this stuff falls in favor of the Packers, I'm like, regardless of what happens against Tennessee, they're getting that number 1 seed. So you need to win on Saturday. But like you mentioned, outside of that, it's, they are the better team. So you don't want to just play down to competition because, again, it's the playoffs that you're heading into. And you want to be playing your best football in this month because you're revving up for the postseason. So, again, we want to see the Packers come out and score quickly, have the defense stop this Panthers offense. And I know Christian McCaffrey looks like he's not going to be playing, which is a good sign for the Packers defense. But, you want this team to lay the smack down. You want to get that home field advantage back and that feel for the limited fans that are going to be there at Lambeau on Saturday. And it's a primetime game, so, hey, why not, right?
I opened the show with this discussion about Matt LaFleur, and I wrote about it for Acme Packing Company yesterday. There are some other candidates, certainly, for Coach of the Year out there, and it seems like the shine is off Mike Tomlin a little bit. And, Kevin Stefanski loses, although in a terrific game on Monday night. But why is Matt LaFleur not more in the center of these discussions, do you think? And do you think he deserves it?
I really do. I was able to ask Marquez a couple weeks ago, asked Aaron Jones yesterday. I'm like, what do you think about Matt LaFleur for Coach of the Year? And they're like, yeah, he's our guy. And, rightfully so. But if you look at the body of work that he's done the last 2 seasons, only 6 losses. And he's played extremely well against division rivals, only 1 loss to the Vikings, 2 NFC titles. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, it's just because he has Aaron Rodgers. And I'm like, yeah, but, he's the guy calling the plays. He's the guy coming up with the scheme. And it's Rodgers, of course, executing it to perfection. But you have to give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit. And, if he can take this team really far in the playoffs, it's like, why can't he win Coach of the Year? Because, there are other good candidates out there. But the body of work that Matt LaFleur has had, this second year especially, and looking at how good this offense is, I think he should be a shoo-in for it. And his guys really feel the same way. And, I think he really should be rewarded for it. And hopefully we'll see. But I just think it's because they're like, oh, he has Aaron Rodgers. It's too easy. But it's not.
Well, and look, no one thinks Andy Reid isn't a great coach because he is Patrick Mahomes. And no one thought Bill Belichick wasn't a great coach because he had Tom Brady. So it's one of those things where I just feel like this season maybe it is cementing the LaFleur legacy a little bit. We usually give this award to someone who they go 4-12 and then 10-6. The Packers are obviously not going to do that, but I don't know if you remember this, Lily, but I kept hearing from everyone last year that they were a fraudulent 13-3, the worst 13-3 team ever. 8 wins in Vegas, they're over under. We can't pretend like before the year everyone thought this was going to be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, and that's what we were hoping for. And I know everyone's going to say, "Oh, well, the Packers' schedule was really easy this year." I'm like, "Yeah, but they can't pick who they're playing. It's just that's what they're given." Yeah, but you have to believe that this is a Super Bowl contending team, and they want to show it on Saturday. And then if that's the case, it's like, why can't Matt LaFleur win it? His body of work is great. He's a young coach in the league. He's taken this offense, which was stagnant for the last couple of years of Mike McCarthy's reign, and really taken it to new heights and really utilized the guys that he has very well within his scheme. So, I think he's deserving for sure.
As we look at this Panthers team and this game, this is not the Panthers defense that we have been used to seeing over the past few years, although Jeremy Chin is a legitimate defensive rookie of the year candidate for them. They have some foundational pieces, but it's not a great team. Offensively, though, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, they have some Curtis Samuel. They've got some skill talent. They can score in these games. What are you most concerned about from the Packers standpoint in terms of, if Carolina can do this thing, then Green Bay is really going to have to scratch and claw to win this game?
Well, it's not even just them in general. I think it's like, can they defend the screen pass? Because that just killed them last week.
Right.
I just wanted to put that out there. But, looking at Teddy Bridgewater, I know this team has struggled. They haven't really been good late in games. They've just had a lot of bad drives down the stretch, which is not what you want to see from a team. But again, it's just like, you don't want Teddy Bridgewater to beat you with his feet and then just keep these drives alive, especially on 3rd and long. I really do think it's the creativity of Teddy Bridgewater. He's still a good player. I know he's struggled this year, but I think it's just, don't let him get going and don't let him keep this Panthers offense on the field when Aaron Rodgers is on the sideline. So I think, the defense still has to be wary, but again, they should win this game. It's just a matter of like, can they just impose their will early and often and then just really kill kind of any spark that Carolina might have. And of course, it also helps that McCaffrey most likely will not play.
Is there anything, Matt LaFleur says 4 quarters. I want to see 4 quarters of defense. Is there something in particular you want to see in this game? I mean, maybe the run defense thing is not as essential this week without Christian McCaffrey. What do you want to see from this defense that'll maybe give you some confidence as they face off in a week with the Titans, who are clearly the best team they're going to play the rest of the way, and maybe the best team that they're going to play until the NFC Championship game potentially?
Yeah, I think you hit the point right there. I think it's, they have to continue being really stout against the run. I think they need to get pressure on Teddy Bridgewater, not let him, escape contain. I think if they can get pressure up front, obviously they've been very successful. Hey, maybe get a takeaway or two. But I would say that's kind of the best thing, especially on defense when you're playing a cold game at Lambeau. It's, you got to tackle well, and you don't want these guys to escape. I would say that, but then I think we also have to look at special teams. Can we not just give up a big return? That'd be nice. I think special teams has to take a big leap forward on Saturday.
TBD on that one. As we finish up here, are we not talking enough about the return of Quadzilla? Could this be the game where AJ Dillon, starts to be that December back that this team thought they were getting when they drafted him?
You hope so. Will his carries increase from kind of what he was getting pre-COVID? I don't think so. But again, maybe it's a situation where, hey, the Packers could be up big in the 4th quarter and they just like to pull Aaron and Jamal and just see what he has. But yeah, this is the point where you're like, okay, we drafted you kind of for this reason. It's to have you kind of really dominate in cold weather games, even though he hasn't played in a long time. But yeah, this would be a great game to showcase those skills and just kind of get him back in the rotation and get him back to getting hit by a different team here. But I would be excited to see if they actually gave him some extra carries, but don't know if it'll happen. But it would certainly be exciting to see because, again, once AJ Dillon gets in the game, the quad tweets are going to be like through the roof. So, and maybe probably on the broadcast too.
Yeah, this account, including and especially because I love a quad tweet. We get a Saturday game, which means a nice relaxing Sunday, and hopefully after a Packers win. Lily, we'll talk next week.
Thanks, Peter.
after an offseason like no other.
Russell Westbrook traded.
You're absolutely betting on Gordon Hayward with this move.
Milwaukee remakes their team overnight.
Phoenix is greatly improved. The Warriors are going to be back.
It's LaMelo Ball. Ball family's in town, baby.
The NBA is ready to start its season. How ready are you? Let the Locked On NBA podcast get you up to game speed with the Locked On NBA season preview series. This week, listen to Locked On NBA for team previews featuring local experts on the biggest storylines. Plus, Chad Ford breaks down the rookies to watch. Josh Lloyd reveals waiver wire ads to supercharge your fantasy team. And Rejecting the Screen predicts who will come out on top of each division. Don't miss the Locked On NBA season preview series beginning December 14th through opening day. Subscribe to the Locked On NBA podcast wherever you get podcasts.
The NFL season is here, so don't be the football fan who doesn't know what they're talking about when you could be the most informed fan on the block with the innovators in modern football analytics at Football Outsiders. I use them in my work every day, and they're trusted by professional and college teams, so why wouldn't you want to get in on the action? Kick off this season with the Football Outsiders Almanac, over 500 pages full of team previews and exclusive projections, or even better, get yourself a Football Outsiders Plus membership, which includes the Almanac, fantasy projections, NFL picks, DVOA database, and much more. Become an outsider today with 25% off the entire store with promo code KICKOFF25. That's 25% off the entire store with promo code KICKOFF25. Thanks again for Lily for joining the show. Always great to get her insight. Love talking to her, and I know she had plenty to do yesterday dealing with all of the Giannis Antetokounmpo news, which is awesome for the Milwaukee Bucks, awesome for Wisconsin sports fans, and really awesome for the city of Milwaukee, which is near and dear to my heart. That's my hometown. It's where I grew up. So great to see Giannis stay there, and maybe the way Aaron Rodgers is playing, he can stay in Green Bay a couple more years. We'll be back tomorrow for Crossover Thursday in our live show, of course, coming up on Friday, Periscope 5:30, with the game set for Saturday. NFL Network, local markets, it'll be on Fox. Otherwise, you will have to search for it a little bit, unfortunately. But we will be here all week to make sure you are as prepped as possible. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And anytime you want to hit us up on the Locked On Packers fan hotline, you can do that, 920-341-3775, to stay Locked On Packers.
What's up, everyone? I'm Kane Pittman, host of Locked On Bucks, your daily podcast on the Milwaukee Bucks. Subscribe and listen every day for plenty of talk about Giannis, plenty of talk about Chris Middleton, and what about Drew Holiday? Right now, we're focused in on the Bucks' pursuit of their second NBA championship. It comes in the 50th year anniversary of the 1971 championship. There couldn't be a better time to take that next step and reach the NBA Finals. Subscribe to Locked On Bucks wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes. Rogan? Yes.